Let's talk about college. It's something that's been on a lot of people's minds, at least in the mainstream consciousness. We've had a few presidential candidates over the past couple of rounds make it a major part of their platform, either making college be free for all US citizens or forgiving student loan debt, reducing the cost in some sort of way. So there's a lot of people who are really focused on the cost of college, but I don't really see a lot of people talking about the value of college. And of course, anytime we're talking about how much something is worth, you can't just focus on the price. I mean, price is really arbitrary at the end of the day. What matters is the value in relationship to its price. If you've got something that's worth $1 and you're able to purchase it for 50 cents, obviously that's a pretty good buy. Now, I've been skeptical of the value of college for a long time now. In fact, my skepticism really started back when I was in high school. Now, part of the reason that I was skeptical is just because I know naturally I'm a contrarian. If people are telling me to go in one direction, if everybody's recommending a particular thing, and they can't really give me a reason that sounds good to me for why I should be doing this particular thing or why I should be recommended this thing, then I'm more likely to go in the other direction and just go against the grain against it. So that's obviously part of it. But what really rubbed me the wrong way about it is all of the teachers, all of the administrators, all of the principals were recommending that every single person in my class go to college. Okay, they were telling all the kids there. Now we'll get to the reason why they recommend that, because if any of you younger folks are in high school, you're probably experiencing the same thing, and there's a reason for that. But let's just think about this as it's laid out, right? Everybody should go to college. Is that really true? I mean, I know a few people that I went to school with, and you probably had a similar thing if you, unless you went to a really nice school in a really nice neighborhood. But there were a lot of kids who were just vagabonds that would not belong on a college campus. Okay, like you can think of, like I knew a couple of kids who were selling drugs. They were in gangs, involved in like all kinds of illegal activity, and also were publishing it on Facebook. Okay, I mean, you could go on Facebook and see, I don't really want to do any of the hands gestures, but you know, putting up their gang signs, all that kind of crazy stuff, talking about how they're selling weed or they're selling crack or meth or whatever, right on their Facebook page, right? So those kids are not going to go to college. Those kids are going to go to jail, right? Because they're not set out to really live that college life and really, go on to the steps beyond that, get a regular career. They're really not even cut out for a criminal life because they're breaking one of the main rules of the criminal code, which is don't talk about the moves that you're making. So you've got those kind of kids. You've got the girls, for example, who the day that they turn 18, they have an OnlyFans account. Right? They got an OnlyFans, they've got a premium private Snapchat, whatever they call it, and they're basically selling their bodies, right? They're taking pictures of themselves naked, half naked, and they're selling that online. Those girls, I don't really think are cut out for college. And it's not because they're dumb, right? It's not necessarily because they lack intelligence or anything like that. Really, it's because they're following a business model that doesn't match the college model. Because the whole reason that people go to college at the end of the day is so that you can get a piece of paper that says you know something, and then you take that piece of paper to go get a job and go make money with it. These girls, though, who are selling their bodies on the internet, selling pictures of themselves on the internet, they're following a whole different type of career path, right? They're not going to go get a job in their 20s and work it for 40 years and then retire. They've got a job right now. You know, they're an entrepreneur. They're getting that simp money by selling pictures of themselves. And they're probably going to make, in some cases, they're going to make a whole lot more money than people like me that work a 9 to 5 or other people that are working 9 to 5s. You know, they might make $10,000 a month or more by selling that. And they're going to probably do that for maybe 10 years. I'm not 100% sure what the lifespan is for those types of activities, but you know, all of those basically sex work jobs, whether it's stripper or cam girl, phone sex, porn star, all that type of stuff, It's generally a short career path that makes a whole lot of money, but you don't need to have a degree to do it. Okay, you just need to have a hot body and some type of a webcam or a camera. And then there's also kids like me who, they're just interested in a normal career, but it just happens to be a career that doesn't really require you going to college. Okay, like my career, of course, is technology. I work as a network engineer. And in some cases, you do need to go off and go to college to learn how to be a network engineer and get a job in it. But there's also certifications. Okay, I mean, that's the route that I went. I've got certifications. And if you really think about the classes that you're taking in college, a lot of them are really unnecessary. Like take English class, for example. You take 2 or maybe it's 4 years of English, depending on your degree in college, right? You take it every single year. In my particular field of work, a lot of the people have learned English as a second language. Okay, there's a lot of people who are coming from Japan, primarily India, China, Vietnam, these other countries. They got involved in technology and they're really good at it. They're skilled mathematically and they're skilled technically, but they're not necessarily skilled so much on speaking English. Right? If they write something, it's not always going to be grammatically correct. If they speak, it's not always going to be grammatically correct. And I would be one of the most well-developed English speakers and English writers amongst my peers where I'm working at just because I'm American, right? I grew up speaking English and I've only been doing it not speaking English, but I've only been, studying English for 12 years since I only went through high school. So there's a lot of unnecessary stuff that you're going to end up taking in college, depending on what field you're going into. Like if you wanted to work maintenance, for example, generally you just need to get like an HVAC certification, know some plumbing, know how to fix stuff around the house, and you can make good money being a maintenance guy. Working on an oil rig, okay, or this type of fishing that they do, like the crab fishing off of the Alaskan coast, okay, these are honest jobs that pay tons and tons of money, and you don't need a college degree. And the reason they pay tons of money is because, again, they're dangerous. But if you're willing to take that risk, then you can make a whole lot of money doing it. Now, you might be wondering if this is the case, right? If you can get all these jobs and make lots of money without a college degree, why is it that schools are always promoting it? Well, the thing is, if you go to public school like I did, public schools are funded with public money, i.e. taxpayer money. And not all the schools get the same amount of money. Okay, one thing that determines how much money the schools get is the actual performance of the schools. Okay, how well they're doing at teaching children. Now, one of these indicators for a school's performance is, of course, test scores, right? Test scores, grades, but another one is college admission. Okay, so the more kids that go from any town high to any town college, the more money that any town high will get from the state. So that's why all the administrators are going to recommend you go to college, regardless of whether or not it's a good idea, because maybe you'll apply and then maybe you'll get in. And they don't really seem to look at graduation rates from college. They seem to just care more about acceptance rates, right? Whether you get in. So it doesn't matter if you drop out, if you take out loans and spend a bunch of money and it doesn't work out, so you leave without even getting a degree. As long as you get admitted to that college, that public school is going to get some of that money. Now, maybe you're a little bit older and maybe you've been out of college for a few years. You've already finished it. And you're saying, all these different types of jobs that I'm seeing, they require a college degree. It says right there in the description of the job that a college degree is necessary. Here's the thing that you have to know about job postings. Most of them are written by somebody who works in human resources. And the thing about HR people, especially when we're talking about a technical job, engineering, network engineering, software development, stuff like that, human resource type folks tend to not be that good at it. Okay, that left brain technical aspect just isn't as well developed in them. I mean, they work human resources. So they tend to make these job requirements up based off of what they think sounds good. And it just so happens that people in human resources also tend to be the same type of folks that put a lot of stock in colleges and in universities. So of course, they're going to put that as a requirement on the job posting. But the thing is, that HR person is not the person who actually hires you. The person who's going to hire you will at least hopefully be more knowledgeable in what's actually required for the job, and then they'll be able to appraise your qualifications more accurately, whether or not you have a degree. So college isn't the best path to go down if you're looking to just make a lot of money, but maybe you're thinking of going to college just for the pure scholarly aspect of it. You just want to learn something. Maybe you're going to go for a meme degree, right? You're not even trying to go for engineering or become a lawyer, become a doctor. Maybe you're going to take a degree in literature or philosophy, right? One of these well-known degrees that don't really get you a good job. I'm skeptical of college even from that point, okay, of just purely learning. And a lot of it is anecdotal. I mean, I've talked to a lot of college kids who just really end up being dopes, but I think that there's a little bit of statistical evidence for this as well. So first of all, it really depends on how you look at intelligence, how you measure intelligence. One way that a lot of generally people accept for measuring intelligence is your IQ, right? Your IQ stat. And there's really no evidence at all that going to college will raise your IQ. In fact, if you look into it, most of the evidence around IQ and most of the studies seem to indicate that it's basically fixed from birth, genetically. You know, maybe there's weird outlier cases where like you would get hit in the head and then maybe you become some sort of savant after that. But I think 9 times out of 10, if you get hit in the head, it's going to end up severely decreasing your IQ instead of increasing it. But yeah, there's no evidence at all that going to college will actually make you more intelligent. And as far as what they're teaching you in college these days, I don't think they're really focusing that much on the scholarly aspect and actually making kids intelligent. It seems to be that colleges are much more focused on left-wing propaganda. And I'm sure that there's some universities out there that are, doing the opposite, right? They're preaching right-wing propaganda. You know, maybe they make all the kids stand up and pray to Ronald Reagan. I'm sure there's a couple of those out there. But for the most part, it seems to really just be this far-left Marxist ideology that they're teaching. And that's what I've seen coming out from so many college kids. Like, they're less than clueless about the world, right? They'd be better off if they just went through high school and then went out and got a job, and then maybe they'd have some idea of how the world works. But instead, they're getting fed these complete and utter lies about how the world works from just Marxists, right? People who want to convince you that the cards are stacked against you if you're black or female or gay or trans or some other kind of nonsense. So that's the thing. The professors at a lot of these schools, I don't think they're out there to help you make money. I don't think they're really out there to help you learn anything. I think what they're really out there doing is peddling their ideology. And this tends to happen a lot amongst people that just don't really make it in life, right? I mean, there's kind of the old saying of those who can do and those that can't, they teach. But I think what happens in a lot of cases with these professors is maybe they went through life and they didn't accomplish what they were hoping, and maybe they get a little bit bitter about it, because I've noticed that as a pretty common thread amongst these more Marxist type of people, that they seem to be bitter about life, things aren't going their way, and so they kind of construct this whole worldview to explain why things are the way that they are. But I think that that's why these professors are really pushing it on the kids, is they just want to sort of bring them down and make them better like them. But anyway, not to get off in the weeds about that, we'll just go ahead and conclude this video. You probably don't need to go to college, all right? Unless you're going to be like a doctor or a lawyer or one of these few professions where it truly is impossible to break into it unless you have that degree. If that's the case, then go ahead and do it. Even as far as taking out loans, I mean, as long as you're smart enough to finish law school or finish med school, you're definitely going to be able to make enough money. I mean, there's there's a large demand for lawyers, there's a large demand for doctors, but don't be one of these people that just goes to college because you think you have to. Okay, don't be one of these people that goes to college and then especially don't goof off, right? Because you're spending your money at the end of the day, unless you're just some rich kid and you're wasting your dad's money, in which case this video doesn't really apply to you. But yeah, don't go unless you really need to go. And then if you're not sure whether or not you need to go, you probably don't. Look into an alternative pathway that is going to cost you less money and give you a lot less headache.